So it's been about 3 weeks since we've had the release of PTE, at least to the public, and everyone active in the PTEs in Broken Arrow scene has pretty much touched PTE at some point. And I think we've, came to the same conclusion that Russia is broken again. Ooh, who would have thought? Damn, it's crazy, man. Like, to think that 1 year ago, when the game was released, Russia is broken, and still, a year later, well, not necessarily Russia being broken, but more like Russia being the favored faction in any match that you play, and everyone's playing motorized, guard motorized, then yeah, then maybe something is wrong, or about the balancing. But to be honest, there are a lot of reasons behind everything. Well, that's not really what this video is about, at least in this video. I plan on talking about it in another video because not only did I ask the devs about, what their vision for the PTE is, which is to make more specializations, more decks viable. I mean, it's a short answer. And then, make more units viable in like the greater scale of the game. So if you're good with one unit, then you can succeed in it, or in some degree. So that was, kind of the idea, but we're kind of back into the good old Russia versus Russia mirror meta, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, since you'd expect Russia or US to be a bit favored in the air, in like when it comes to air dominance or just other kinds of stuff, but it doesn't really seem to be the case in PTE. And well, there are a couple of reasons to that, and one of them is being the fact that overkill or anti-overkill can now be overridden. And what this means is that previously, when you used a jet and it would fire missiles at a plane, and an enemy plane in particular, the AMRAAMs or the R-77s, they would fire really slow. Like, they would fire one, wait for one, two, maybe fire another one. And then that's it. That's two missiles at it, and then it's gonna stay like that until the two missiles either miss or they connect, and you can't do anything about it. Well, you just have to wait for the two missiles to miss or hit their target, and then you can shoot your next two missiles. On the PTE, as you're gonna see in maybe like 30 seconds or so, it's a bit different. You're just gonna watch my Su-35 with 10 R-77s just start firing it off, man, like just going brrrrt, that kind of stuff. But well, anyways, my teammates basically decided to run it down. Well, he's known for doing that kind of stuff. But let's take a look at this. Su-35, 3, 4, 5, yep, 5 missiles right off the bat. Same with this guy. That was 10 R-77s fired continuously in very quick succession, and that has basically changed or reshaped how air-to-air combat in Broken Air should be like. Instead of utilizing or trying to use 9-kilometer missiles to cheese your opponent, deplete their flares, not anymore. Like, nowadays every plane has 50 flares, and well, devs did say that they think that, maybe this is a bad change after all, and well, maybe not a bad change, but in regards of like, it should, they should be fixed. No plane should have that many flares to basically make wasting bullets, or wasting 9-kilometer missiles kind of suck nowadays. Anyways, as you can see here, I'm just trying to fight my opponent here. But 1K52 isn't really enough because it only has 4 stingers, and 4 stingers shoot rather slowly. And right now at the start of the game, this is also not very favorable for us because, as you might have known already, our opponents, they have 3 to 4 VDV. I kind of forgot the exact number because I didn't check earlier, but the general idea is that the more VDV or the more airborne that your team has, the more likely they're going to succeed. And that does seem to be the case for this game, as we basically they still have fighters up. But since my team only has 2 VDV or so, we don't. And every time we try to go for H, it's gonna be very risky, and we're more likely than not going to lose our units than them, because they have the fighters, they have the air supremacy. So you know, there's only so much you can do when it comes to like trying to go for H. Normally this really wasn't like you just see me going like trying to force a kill on that helicopter, and now I'm just trying to keep my K-52 alive by going low and hiding in, like, you know, between the building and the forest or something, just to stop being shot at by these 3 Su-35s, which is honestly quite scary if you think about it. In the meantime, we do see my opponent's first, or probably second, transport helicopter trying to drop some Igloos onto the island, and therefore securing their grasp on the H-cap. And for me, it's, you know, it seems quite difficult at the moment. I'm also trying to spawn my own, or at least get my own Igloo team onto the island with the Mi-24 TN. This is a helicopter that you can get for a really cheap price, 115 points. And what it does is it has a bunch of rockets. It has a, well, not a bunch, but you know, 20 S-13s. That's certainly, you know, it's something, right? And since my opponent previously dropped some infantry, what better thing else? What better thing else is there for me to just rush my opponent's Igloos, which happened to also be standing in the same mob and couldn't even fire. While my Mi-24 just ran at them. Well, you could say that they were panicked and everything, which is a thing with like manpad squads. Once they're panicked, they reload slower, they can't aim. It happens. It's pretty bad. And well, luckily for me, since my opponent was kind of blobbing, we now do have the, well, at least the leisure to take, well, we somehow managed to put our Igloos on the H-cap because in some sense, you know, like, since everyone's trying to dominate the air with fighters, that we're all just going to mount R-77s, which is the air-to-air missile, the standard 7-kilometer one, instead of using R-73s, because R-73s, they only have a range of 2 kilometers, which is very short range. They only help you in a dogfight, which, you know, it's not going to help you when everyone's trying to go at each other's throats. Like in like long distance, medium range, those kind of engagements. You can see here comes another helicopter. We'll see how it goes. But you know, luckily we do have an ELSA, which somehow has the capabilities of traversing through water while also having radar. Honestly, a lot of the Russian Shorad do have this capability. It's just that, you know, this one is the fastest on road. That is, there are faster variants on that can travel like off-road in forests, but this one, if you want it to move somewhere really quick, the ELSA gets it done. But still, it is an absolute disaster if you want it to be in a forest, because it's really slow in the forest. It has terrible off-road capacity for a Shorad, and since most Russian units are tracked, if you happen to be playing on a forest map with the ELSA, then probably consider well, you might as well just have something tracked at that point. And you know, Russia has a lot of options when it comes to that kind of stuff, so I don't really think we have to worry about that if you're playing as Russia. Anyways, I decided to do something quite funny, which is to drop a BRM 3K 57mm recon vehicle. Well, I guess it's a BMP-3 basically with the 57mm cannon. It's quite impressive, the firepower it can bring, and I put it on the island because, well, I'm guessing my opponents are probably never going to bring AT. They're just, if they ever try to rush the island, it's going to be helicopters and probably manpads. So all I'm going to do is probably just hide in a corner, and if they try to push, I'll maybe try to snipe the units, and we'll be able to, you know, we'll be able to do fine. They do just fine. But since we've kind of spent the last 8 minutes on a gamble to secure the H cap on the island. We're kind of behind now. We're very much behind. You can see here, this is yeah, we're very much behind. When it comes to like C, because I'm just clearly not there. I'm trying to use like quick reaction forces to try to like with the helis, with my spruts, which are cheap tanks, to try to like at least secure or at least grab a foothold of something before like we lose too much ground on the main battlefield, which is, as you can see, on the Baltic Peninsula. My Mi-28 NM is the, how do you even pronounce this? Mikhailich or something. Excuse me, I don't speak Russian. It is a helicopter, which is quite impressive, to be honest. What it does is that it can basically use this ATGM called the Lemur, and it is also Russia exclusive. As you know, also this is quite impressive from the Sprut. You know, it's an ATGM that can go for 1,600 meters, and luckily for me, my opponent seemed to forget about his fancier, or Tor in this case, in the back, and we got him. We got him with the spread, which basically paid for itself already. So I remember, yeah, we were talking about the Mi-28 Mikhailich. The Lemur missiles, the ATGMs, is basically an HE warhead, where it not only is top attacking, it also has this this ability, or the ability, to shoot at infantry. So if you happen to, you know, want a bit of extra firepower, then and then like you don't really have anything else like at the moment to help your infantry, then this might be your helicopter that you should try out, because honestly it is well, not only is it exclusive to Russia, which means that only if you're playing a non-mirror match against the US, then you are the one who, you know, you can cheese infantry with it. If your opponent tries to push you with anything out in the open, that kind of stuff, it smacks, I'm telling you. And like once infantry are panicked, they deal more and more damage as they're more stressed. So, well, based on the stress levels, if they're panicked, I mean, if they're pinned or shocked, I think it goes from shocked to panic, like calm, shocked, panic. So yeah, like if you can quickly panic infantry with the Lemur. That being said, it is still a helicopter at the end of the day, so against Shorad it does have its weaknesses. However, a lot of the US variants, or like the US Shorads, for those who don't have radar, they only have a range of 2 kilometers, so that's something that's pretty nice. Where, since, you know, like, if you can shoot at the Shorad, I mean, if the Shorad can shoot you, then you can also shoot the Shorad. It's very simple. Others do have radar, and that might be a problem, but, you know, at the end of the day, like, the job of this thing is to basically be in relatively safety, because you can really utilize a 2 kilometer range here. With the Mi-28, but you know, back to the topic now. We're currently struggling against my opponent's T90M because I actually don't have a tank that can match the or can pen the T90's front armor. As you can see here, I do have a T80UM2, the Drozd, no clue how to pronounce it, but as you can see here, this is pretty bad for me. And that kind of brings us to the tank meta of Russia. You know, as you can see here, there's 2 tanks here. I'm just gonna get 2 shot. Yep, there you go, bye-bye. And the T80UM2 is a really good vehicle. It is a really good vehicle because, I mean, first of all, it's a tank, right? But what sets it apart from other, like, tanks is that for a relatively cheap price, it gets APS. And APS, it's a fantastic thing. The APS, it's a, you can block a lot of, like, incoming, like threats. if you just happen to be out out of like in a bad position. Here we're just going to use the Su-34 with a bunch of cluster bombs, 6 of them, to kill a unit, maybe 2, possibly 3, but also lose a plane in the process. I remember seeing this at the end of the match. I actually did manage to kill maybe 3 units, so that was pretty nice. Weakness of the T-80 is that it is actually a terrible tank at dealing with enemy tanks, and not just the Russian ones, but also the US ones, because if you know, most US tanks have or perform better than the Russian ones by default. The T-80 is a tank with thin front armor of, you remember, it has like 650. So 650 is pretty weak for like or like pretty thin value for like for kinetic protection. Normally you would kind of assume that 700 is like the baseline, or like if you want to win in a fight against your opponent, then you kind of do want to have a tank with like at least 700 kinetic armor. It would be decent. I'm not showing off these values because I know the numbers. I'm just saying like it's kind of the thing that happens. Anyways, it's not really the point of like using the T-80 to deal with tanks, as you can see here. It's still a tank. It's still a tank, and it destroys other things just as reliable as other tanks would. As you can see, I just used 2 spruts. Yeah, the guy was using a sprut SDM, which is the cheaper, or sorry, more expensive variant of the sprut. Here I just have this because it has a tank gun, and that's all that matters. It has a tank gun, and I don't need anything else. I'm just here for the gun. I know that the sprut, the upgraded gun is better still. It's still better, but the thing about Russia, especially in Mir, I mean, okay, it's not even in Mir. It's like for Russia in general, for their tank or their tank guns, their kinetic pen, their APFSDS is pretty weak. It's pretty weak. Even the like as I mentioned before, the T-80 has a penetration of 325. So when you're trying to fight another tank, that I mean, if you're a T-80 versus another T-80 and then you see each other at max range, you're not going to deal damage to each other with the APFSDS. All that's going to happen is that, yeah, all that's gonna happen is that like you're just gonna end up shooting heat at each other, and that's kind of the point for Russian tanks. I mean, you just spam heat. Heat is all like heat all the way, especially at like long range engagements. The only reason I am losing very hard, or the T-80 loses very hard to the T-90, is because the T-90 outranges all of the Russian tanks besides the T-14, which is the Armada. And because of that, the penetration value of, as you can see, that was I barely did any damage to the T-90, but he did a lot of damage to me, and that's kind of because like not only does his gun have more penetration, I also because of how how should I explain this in a simple way? I don't know. But like, okay, TLDR, I guess, is that compared to the T-90, I have thicker armor, he has more penetration, so if you kind of like, you know, think about it, then yeah, I actually, yeah, no wonder I'm losing that hard. But now I finally managed to get a T-90 of my own, so, you know, two can play the same game. We'll just end up using, I mean, or you eventually have to phase out the T-80 to deal with my opponent's abundance of T-90s as he tries to get more and more, I mean, like, you know, basically push me back from even entering C in the first place, which is quite annoying at times. I'm also running really low on supplies, as you can see here. I basically dealt minimal amounts of damage, and I'm consuming all of my supplies just preparing tanks. And on top of that, my opponent also has a helicopter in the back, so I can just chip away at my tanks without APS, which in this case, only the T-80 has APS, but I'm also locked into a situation where if my opponent pulls out his T90, I can't do anything about it. So yeah, it's a pretty bad situation for me, to say the least. He's hiding his T90s right behind that building, so he can engage me whenever he likes, but or like if he decides to push out from that island, but I cannot. On the bright side though, at least I have a T80s, I mean another T90, so I get to, at least if I happen to be in trouble, then, you know, we can shoot each other and then deal like the same amount of damage. In the meantime, there is a Typhoon VDV, and we also spotted their Spetsnaz, sorry, not Spetsnaz, the VDV Sniper Squad over there on the side. In the meantime, my opponent has his own E80, and as you can see here, I actually am doing certain, you know, pretty decent damage to his T80 because I have more range, I have more pen, and he's less armor. So yeah, like ultimately, if you're in a Russia mirror, the T90 is really the game changer when it comes to like engaging stuff. But well, anyways, as you can see, the Sprut and the T80 just isn't going to cut it. In the meantime, we are under a full TOS barrage from our opponent that is, you know, trying to contest C. Or like, at least I'm trying to take it from him, and he's not going to let it go that easily, to say the least. But thankfully, the guards specialization does have an option. They do have a vehicle or an infantry transport that apparently can carry infantry inside, but also be quite resistant to the TOS. And the TOS, it has a penetration of I forgot it, but pretty low, but still high enough to destroy most IMVs, like ranging from like this, the BTR MDM Rakushka. You have like the normal IMVs with the autocannon, like what the B10, B11, B15 Kurganets, the other tanks, and I mean not tanks, but like the boomerang as well, the K-17 boomerang, and yeah, like it's just pretty frustrating if you don't have anything that can withstand the heat. And as you can see here, earlier, the BMO, which is currently resupplying on my supply dump, it has a T-72 hull, and it basically has enough front armor to withstand the TOS, the firepower of the TOS, or a full barrage basically. In the meantime, as you can see here, there's a T90 in my face, so I'm just gonna pop out of the building and try to, well, at least that's what I wanted to do here, since I was, you know, that was really unlucky. I don't know what happened to my militia, but as I tried to engage my this T90, which my T80 UM clearly cannot deal with it by itself, and also gets blasted through well, I smoked up to blade. I'm playing on 140 ping anyway, so, well, there's there's that. My militia also got panicked, which is definitely not a good sign, especially on the PTE, where if they're panicked, then they shoot slower, they take more damage, and yeah, this happens. So, kind of just fed about 500 points, I say. Yeah, about 500 points for nothing. Thankfully though, against my opponents, only one of them has access to T90s. And some people might ask, okay, but what if you, as you can see here, my opponent now has two T90s, and those are like the Recon variants. If you ask me what the Recon variants are for, you could say that, like, you know, it's an T90, why don't you like T90s, right? True. And on top of that, here I'm just lining up a quick barrage, putting my TOS on hold fire, just in case anything bad happens. And I needed the barrage to C point. The TOS will come in handy, but you know, it's not going to happen at the moment because we do have control of C cap. Back to the Recon T90 topic. I T90 is a tank where, or like at least in tank engagements, it is pretty nice if you can manage to shoot the first shot. And the T90 or the Recon tanks in general, like not just the Recon T90, but also the Recon Abrams, the Sep V2, the Toit, the TUA, you know, the Toit and the Hawk Toit build. Sorry for referencing that, but you know, had to mention it. It does allow you to outspot your opponent's tank, since they normally have 1400 meters of range. Honestly, like just throwing a bunch of numbers at you feels quite complicated, so I'm just gonna say like at range, like at max range 1400 meters, tanks also have the same amount of normally they have the same amount of like optics to spot as far as they can shoot. Unfortunately, fortunately for the Recon vehicles, they have a bit further optics range, and not just that, they also have stealth, 1.25 stealth, which can basically make sure that, well, here I'm just going to smoke up to prevent side shots or back shots from my opponent. Along with that, my Taz is now firing. I mean, just the perfect timing, right? It's going to be firing right into C where my opponent was trying to resupply or like reinforce with his infantry, and with that, we seem to have basically annihilated his push, his counter push. Along with that, 3 T90s on the field. I mean, if he doesn't have any infantry around, yeah, there's not much he can really do about that. And that would be the end of this match. So I'm going to be talking about the Recon T90, so I'll hop into the game real quick. Please give me a bit of time. Alright, so to quickly talk about the T90, or the Recon one, as you can see here, it does, well, this is the stock option. You can obviously upgrade this optics to like 2000 if you like, but the main purpose of the T90 is, as you can see here, the T90 is, you know, it's further away than, I mean, I'm in gun range, and you know, I can spot it with the tank itself. And for the T90, if your opponent's tank is also like not a Recon tank, then yeah, sure, like you can also spot it. However, I need to basically keep going. Gonna take a while. I need to be much closer to the Recon. Okay, I don't even know how far away that is, but okay, let's measure in this. This is like about 400 meters, so actually this is 200. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 1,000 meters, a bit more than 1,000 meters away. I messed it up. Let me... Alright, let's try again. So this time we'll just slowly move in that direction, and then it's gonna like it's gonna slow down the moment it spots the, oh, there we go. So yeah, around like 1,000 meters away, sorry, 1,100 meters away. So as you can see, he always fires off the first shot, at least for the T90, because he was already aimed at me. The only reason I'm winning here is because I managed to get a critical hit on his ammo rack. So that's why I seem to be winning for now. Otherwise, I really shouldn't be winning this fight at all. It doesn't make sense. That was a bad demonstration, but I'm not retaking the video anyways. So the T90, this is why it's a pretty good tank, or like an option, because for a cheap price of like, I mean, if you compare it to a normal T90, you just pay 40 points more for the option to always shoot first. So that's why it's kind of nice against any other tank out there. For one, you know, one exception out there, and that is the T14, the Armada. And I think I need to pull out a calculator because I'm not gonna demonstrate that again. Here we go. So 1750 divided by 1.25, which is the stealth of the T90, is approximately 1400 meters of range. So I mean of like distance. So the T14 is the only tank, along with the Sep V3, that also has the same vision. that can kind of negate, or like, you know, it can spot the recon tanks the same range as, you know, so this is the I mean the, like, yeah, these tanks are like kind of like the counter to recon tanks because they can spot each other. There are still a couple like mechanics to like shooting and force, like the last recon tank. I mean the last video, the deck recommendation video I had a couple while ago. Um, so yes, it does kind of matter still, but ultimately, if you do happen to be in a situation where you're building a deck like guards, armored brigade, and you kind of want to like try these things out, then I guess this is all you need to know about it. So yeah, the TLDR is that unless your opponent is running a, like the T14 or the 7B3, then the recon tank should be able to always shoot first, provided that nothing else is spotting it. But the enemy tank. So yeah, this is, you know, a cool thing, and I'm gonna share you my deck right now. Give me a bit. Alright, it looks absolutely cooked. I must have changed my decks in the meantime before making this video, but okay, I can still explain my things in my deck. Scheiße. Well, anyways, the book M3 is probably gonna be your main source of AA. Nowadays, on live patch, people always use the book M2 because even though that has less range, it always has the ability to one-shot your opponent's fighters or whatever plane it is, but now it no longer has that capability. And also the missiles are a bit slower, so it's always better to upgrade to the M3. You get more missiles, they shoot faster, and they have more range, so this is always the better option now. The TOS is for clearing out infantry, some logistics, a mortar because I like smoke, and then 2 Mistas, which is some arty that you can not only use to snipe enemy like units that are static, you can also like barrage them with like a salvo length of 3 to 6. 9 seems to be a bit too much because your opponent's probably going to be moving away at that point. So like the support tab here is definitely solid. You have everything that you need most of the time, and you don't have to worry about logistics because you not only have slow transports that can carry large amounts of supplies, you also have the fast trucks that can also carry infantry as well. On top of that, for logistics, the Mi-26 Korova also, you know, it has a pretty big capacity here as well. And for helicopters, you also get some pretty nice options. I mean, in the previous replay you saw, I probably had something like this. 2K52 alligators for the good optics, but only 4 iglas, and you know, you have something else that can pretty much do the same, like the Mi-35, but I remember I had like the Mi-24 with the rockets only. Like, this is also up to you, because the nice thing about these attack helicopters that Russia has is that they can also carry infantry inside. So what I could do at the start of the match was bring an igla team inside and then drop them off, and then let this guy go out, deal some damage, and maybe sacrifice itself for the ground troops. I think both of these helicopters are great. You can have this for the same price, and it's just that one has iglas. So yeah, it's a pretty nice helicopter. And for jets, these two are ASF. You have this for the SU-34 is a really flexible plane. You can have everything. You can have thermobaric that deletes infantry, cluster that deletes tanks, both if you want it, if you like gambling, and you know, also some other options, but I happen to be using cluster this match. You also pretty much have space for another plane, I assume. No, not really. Let's cut cost a little. Maybe yeah, okay, there we go. So this is like cluster plane, so I guess I could bring the Fab 3000, let this deal with infantry or something. Maybe thermobaric. Thermobarics are pretty good. in the current patch. They reload fast, they're cheap. 6 is very good, by the way. 6 is good enough to kill a lot of things. You just fly in low altitude, let the seed interrupt the SAMs, and then you just bomb the infantry, and maybe you get lucky to get out. And then even playing with cluster bombs. This isn't gonna kill any like tanks with like ERA or that kind of stuff, but still good enough to finish off a tank if they happen to be 1 HP, along with the seed to help you distract your opponent. There are other options out there if you like, but you know, I think having 1 HE, 1 again, like for dealing with tanks, like that's a good combo. So yeah, this is my deck. I think the infantry tab is kind of up to you. You have the BMOT, as I mentioned earlier, with the power-up armor that's pretty thick for the TOS to even deal a lot of damage to it. As you can see, only 15 penetration, but against IMVs like the Skrez and the PTR MDMs, the Kurganets, like they deal a lot of damage to these vehicles because they have really high base damage. And ultimately, I still think CQC infantry is rather important, even though standoff is buffed. But with the help of smoke or vehicles trying to get into range, you will eventually need CQC infantry. So that's why I have the VDV Spetsnaz on CQC with the Burrs, which, you know, the VDV Guards is ultimately also a deck where having the Sturmer VT alone is not going to help in some situations, because sometimes people have this thing. I mean, there's this Omega busted deck called specialization called the Motorized Infantry, and this thing, the SSO, they wipe everything. Everything. There's not much you can do. Sometimes they pair with Spetsnaz Gru AT. We'll go through that in a future episode. Please, if you're interested to watching that, you know, give me a like, let me know. I'll stay subscribed. I'll definitely upload that, probably in the next or the video after that. But for today, this is the deck that we're focusing on. And sorry, that was my Discord ping. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful day out there. And until then, until the next video, stay safe and bye-bye.